Good morning. Today I briefly want to go through a couple of the things here on clock oils and why we choose to use Red Dragon clock oil. And these kits are just absolutely a must if you're going to dabble in clock cleaning and repair. Okay, these are little watch oilers, and a lot of people are selling these for clock oilers, and they will work, but they don't work very well. And the reason for that, they're too small, and you can't get into areas where you really need to get into the pockets and oil the clock. So I just don't like these at all. Never did. I don't even like them for watchmaking. So what I did is I designed two oilers. This is a clock oiler, and you can notice it's about 5 inches long. So it lets you reach into the clock and oil anything that you need to oil. And it loads up well. It's got a special tip on this. So this is what we use, is these little custom made clock oilers, and they're well worth their money, believe me. The other one is for using grease, which we also supply a special grease for you, so it's usable on plastic and brass without causing any damage to the plates of the gears or destroying the plastic. Some oils and greases have detergents in them, and they're hard on the clocks. That's why clock oil is specially made. This is just a little device that allows you to scoop up a little bit of the grease, and I'll show you the grease. This is the special grease. You just scoop a little bit of that up, and you can grease all the levers, the stars for the hammer, and all the hammer gears or cams. That's what that's designed to do, and that's what this does. It applies that. So we also have two clock oils. Now this one here is a little bit lighter in viscosity, and this one is heavier. And they make this in a very small bottle so that you can't get them mixed up. We don't want this one going in the pivot areas. This is designed specifically for your escape wheels, and the reason it does that is because it doesn't draw down the teeth. It stays kind of put where you put it, and that's what we want. We don't want it drawing, because if it does, then you lose the lubrication protection that's on the escape wheel. Now, if you don't know anything about clocks, I do have another couple videos that I'm going to go ahead and paste a link. So you just copy and paste the link to YouTube, and it'll show you how to do the clock properly. And that's one of the things that you want to learn to do. Now this is Red Dragon clock oil, and we buy this by the gallons, and it's I think it's the best in the market. But it's just it's a thicker viscosity, and it penetrates and keeps the oil right where you want to in the clock, right in the well sinks or the oil sinks, and it stays put so that your protection on the gear and the pivots is there for 5 years before you really need to re-oil it. I do recommend every 2.5 years to re-oil your clocks. This is $100 bottle of oil, and it almost looks like cooking oil, and it has I've used this for a lot of years, and $100 bottle, and I stopped using it when I found this Red Dragon. This stuff, what happens is it's so thin that it draws through your oil sinks, and capillary attraction pulls it right out of there, puts it on the shaft on the inside of the clock, and then you're sitting there with no oil in your bearings. We come back years after year for grandfather clocks, and the first thing I notice is that, where's all the oil? It's gone. And that's why I stopped using this. And they make several of these soy machine oils, clock oil. They call them clock oils, and like I said, they look like cooking oil. So I stay away from these now, and I'm not going to give you the trade name because there's no reason to do that. But the next thing I want you to understand is that these oilers are so much easier to use, and what I want to do is I'm going to take a big bottle, and we're going to do a little test. Now this is not a calibrated test, but I'm going to put a little oil in here. I'm going to put a little oil in here. Oops, no oil in there. I'm going to use this $100 bottle of clock oil that I used to buy. Ooh, see how fast that pours out? It's just like water. Yeah, I'm not sure you couldn't use this for cooking oil. Anyway, this is not a great big fancy test, and there's no reason for that. But what we want to do is show you what happens with it. So let's go ahead and see if I can tighten the shot. And we'll put this here, and we'll put this here, like that. Let's see. Let's go back out just a little bit. All right. So we're gonna just straight down, and we're gonna load this, and we're gonna put it on the. All right. Then we're gonna take the Red Dragon clock oil, which already is just, see how much better it grips. 1 or 2 drips of this and the oil sinks are just perfectly oiled in all your clocks. Now, what you can see already is this one has just stayed put, and this one's already leaching clear out. And that's what happens when you're running a oil into the clock. It capulates out. And if you overfill, this will come right off the plate and draw all the oil right onto the clock plate. So that's why we use the Red Dragon oil. Its viscosity is exactly the right temperament, and sits well in the oil sinks in your clock, and it stays put. So you know you're protected for the next 2.5 to 3 years before you re-oil it. And you aren't coming back, and if you're professional and finding out that there's no protection in your pivots, and the clock has started to wear out. So that's a couple of the nice things about this. Now we also use cleaning sticks, and these are especially wound for us. And we order these in, and these are what we call tight wound cotton swabs. You can get these. Well, I don't know if the drugstores carry them anymore or not. They used to. Anyway, these are so tightly wound, they really work perfect for cleaning your clock. And these are extraction oilers. So if you get too much oil in your oils wells, you can just suck a little bit of that oil out of there, and then you can clean these and reuse them. And that's why we use these. That way you can control the amount of oil that goes in your clock. Now, we do not want you to use 3-in-1 oil. Not a good deal. You see what it says down here? De-rust and cleans. That means it's got a whole bunch of detergents in it. About the only thing this is good for is cleaning your mainsprings. And I use that for that. No DW40. Don't use DW40. Do not spray your plates, because it reacts to the brass, and the brass turns green. And then you have a real mess on your hands. So with those things, and you can see that this oil has just run everywhere on here, and this one has just stayed put right where you wanted it. So if you wonder why there's differences in the oils, that's why. And like I said, they give you 2 clock oils. They give you an oil cup that you can clean out. And by the way, it's a ½ ounce of oil, and it will last years if you use it right. The next thing we don't want you to do is we don't want you to have needles or syringes or squirt bottles that have needles on them. The reason for that is that you cannot control the amount of oil coming out of these tips, and then you end up overfilling the oil wells in the clock. And what happens then is it capulates out of there, and you've lost all your oil. And not only that, you've got your plates that are full of oil too. It's just not a good idea to use these. We recommend the custom-made oiler, and it has a protective deal on this. We do carry the extra inserts, so if you do drop one or bust it or break it off of there, we can send you another one out. These are just excellent, and they're well made. They're aluminum, but you can't buy anything better than that. So we use CRC, old electronic cleaner. It's a contact cleaner, and what we use is we take these swabs and we spray them, and then we can work the dirt and stuff out of the old well sinks on your oil sinks on the clock. These have a special little rounded point so that you can dig all the oil out first. Then you spray this with CRC. Now the CRC we don't supply, but you can get that at any automotive parts store, and I think they probably carry that nationwide. It's the best stuff you can get. It's CRC electronic cleaner. Works perfect. You cannot, however, use it to spray into your pivots. Do not do that. Use these little swabs, and one swab like this is all you can. It'll clean a whole clock for you, and you throw it away. Don't these are cheap, and I think we sell them for $25 to a bundle for like $4 or $5 freight paid, or $6 freight paid. Somewhere in there you can look it up. So that's about it. We kind of wanted to let you know how these oils work and why we don't want to use these. This is a no-no, and this is yay. So when you're looking at our clock oil, this is the best that I can see on the market. And the company that manufactures this makes this only for clocks. It's too expensive to use on door hinges and key wells and all that stuff. Just use it for clocks and put it away, and it'll last you for several years. The shelf life on this is probably 10-15 years, and it'll work for you every time. So, and the penetration that it provides on the shafts and the pinions of your gear is just unreal. Alrighty, thanks for taking a look at our oil, and we hope you try some, and I know you'll like it.